Okay, so now let's start the next and the last module of this particular course, which is Administer Monitoring. Obviously, we have done so many things in Azure administration, but how can it be completed without monitoring services? In this module, we are going to talk about introduction to one of the most important service of Azure, which is Azure Monitor. We will focus on improving incident responses with alerting on Azure, and then we'll also analyze infrastructure using Azure Monitor logs. We also have one last lab of this course, which is lab number 11, in which we are going to see how we can monitor resources. So let's get started with this module. This slide is actually talking about different features, services, and things which are provided by Azure Monitor. From the bird's eye view, Azure Monitor is a one single service of Azure Cloud, but it actually has so many things inside that. As you can see here in the slide, if you start with Insights, which is actually one of the most popular service of Azure Monitor, which gives you an insights about your application performance and error configurations with that. So if your applications are having performance issues or error prone things, you can just use Insights associated with that. Above all, Application Insight is not only for applications. You have insights available for containers, virtual machines, network, and even storage accounts now. There are so many insights which are available under Azure Monitor. If you're having a historical logs and if you're storing the historical logs, you can use Log Analytics Workspace to query them. Or maybe you can visualize them using different dashboards, metrics, or maybe integrated with Power BI. All these things are also integrated with Azure Monitor services. Above all, when you want to get notified on specific notifications alerts, you can configure alerts, and you can also configure an automated actions associated with that alert. So alerts and actions are going to help you to get notified as well as take some automated actions based on that. Above all, if you want to integrate this service with other integration Azure services like Event Hub, Logic App, or maybe you want to just associate this as an API to do some import export of the data, all these things will be possible with one Azure Monitor service. If I understand Azure Monitor service in one line, then basically Azure Monitor service is going to continuously monitor your application, infrastructure, and various services available on Azure platforms. So basically those services will be a data source for Azure Monitor service. It's going to capture the log data, and then the data is going to be stored in the data platform, which is mostly going to be in the form of logs, traces, and then you can associate them with all the utilities which we have discussed so far. Now let's get started with introduction to Azure Monitor so that we can understand all these things step by step. First, let's focus on Azure Monitor key capabilities. As I said, it can monitor and visualize metrics so that you can understand and get the proper insights from your log data. It can also allow you to query and analyze logs. You can have a SQL kind of a queries associated with this. You can dig deep into your log data, and then you can get the proper meaningful insights from that. Above all, it is allowing you to do setup and alerts and actions. Alerts are going to help you to get notified on email or phone number or mobile app notifications. And then actions are actually going to take automated actions where maybe you can call some kind of a runbook or maybe Azure function or any particular piece of logics which you want to trigger automatically and execute based on the alert. As I already discussed, Azure Monitor has multiple components inside that. It's going to take care of application monitoring, guest operating system monitoring, Azure resource monitoring, Azure subscription monitoring, and also Azure tenant monitoring. Every resource and entity associated with Azure Cloud can be monitored with Azure Monitor service. Now let's understand metrics and logs properly. Metrics are nothing but the numeric values that describe some aspect of a system at a point in time. Basically, using this metric kind of a configuration, you'll be able to generate your bar chart, line chart kind of a diagrams, and you can understand what is the state of that particular data. They are mostly the lightweight and capable of supporting near real-time kind of a scenarios. On the other hand, when we talk about logs, logs contains different kind of data which is organized into records with different set of properties for each type. You can have telemetry data like event, traces, and you can also have a performance data which can be combined for analysis. And this historical data is going to provide a business level insights for you. Now let's talk about Azure Activity Log Events. Same like all the event logs and all, we have activity logs also which are associated with Azure resources. This is going to send a data to Log Analytics for advanced search and alerts. Whenever you're going to do this thing, your activity logs of whatever you're doing inside your virtual machines, application, or any other resources which are associated with that, is actually going to store the activity logs. You can query or manage events in the portal, PowerShell, command line interface, or maybe using a REST API. This is going to stream even information to event hubs if you want to trigger millions of event integrations with the event hub and then you want to take certain actions based on that. It's going to help you to archive data to a storage account. So ultimately, all the log data is going to be stored inside your storage account, which you can further associate for data analysis, or maybe for a better visualization, you can integrate with the Power BI. As we discussed, in the Log Analytics workspace, it gives you an options to query your activity logs. Like you can see in this particular screen, you can query your activity logs. You can also filter them as per your conditions. You can add filter like events category, security recommendations, alerts, or something like that. You can also pin current filters and download that particular data as a CSV format for your further analysis. Now let's talk about improve incident response with alerting on Azure. Now this particular diagram is actually showing you a step-by-step process of how you're going to manage Azure Monitor alerts. As you can see in the step number 1, we have different kind of Azure resources and we are continuously going to monitor and collect the logs based on that. Once you have this thing, you are going to associate with the resources and then you're going to configure one or more alert rules with that. Every alert rule is going to have 3 configurations inside that. The first one, that what is the scope of that particular alert, which is mostly going to associate with your subscription, tenant, or a particular resource of Azure. The second one is what kind of a signal you want to associate with that. Maybe it's going to be CPU utilization, memory utilization, or some other signals which you want to keep track. And then after that, based on the signal, you have to give a proper condition. If that condition is matched, it's going to send an alert notification. And that is something which you can configure with your own customizations. Once you have an alert rule defined, remember, it's going to fire alert whenever condition is matched. If condition is met, it's going to create an alert. It's going to process the alert rule, which can have multiple suppliers or added actions associated with that. Whenever you have an actions, these actions are going to be associated with action group, which can be maybe triggering another application logic like logic app, Azure function, or maybe it's going to invoke some kind of a runbook association with that. It can be any particular action which you want to take, and that's why we can have an actions which can be invoked, and it can be an automated action which can be happening based on the notification of that alert. Mostly these actions are going to use the data which is sent through this notification and then it's going to take appropriate action. This screenshot is actually showing you that how you can create an alert rule. As you can see here, we have some alert rules which are configured here. You can see that with each alert rule, we have a specific condition. So alert rules are going to combine resources to be monitored, and then the signal or a data from the resource and the condition is going to be there. In this case, you can see that the target scope is something which is mentioned. The 780 is also mentioned. The targeted resource type is also mentioned inside this. And based on that, it's actually going to associate this alert with different kind of a targeted resource type. It's going to associate this, and based on that, it's going to trigger the alert configurations with that. This screenshot is actually showing you how you can create an action group. As I said, action group is nothing but group of multiple actions inside that. Whenever you're configuring a notification, first step is you're always going to configure a notification type, which can be either an email Azure Resource Manager role, or maybe you're going to send an email or SMS or a push notification or a voice message to a specific endpoint. Now, once you send a notification, the next step is you have to take care of the action. You can add up to 5 action groups to an alert rule. And then multiple alerts rules can be also use the same action group inside that. That's the reason we create an action group. Your actions can be having this kind of options. You can call automation runbook. You can call Azure functions. You can maybe associate with Event Hub or ITSM. You can also trigger logic app with that. Or maybe you can just pass on this thing to a webhook kind of an association. No matter which action you want to take, based on that, you have to have some piece of logic configured inside that, and the data of this particular notification is going to be used inside that action. Hey guys, sorry for interruption. My name is Maruti and I'm here to make a very important announcement. I hope you are liking our videos and you're doing a continuous learning with us on an Azure Cloud and AI related topics. If you are enjoying this thing, I'm going to announce skilltech.club, which is our upcoming website, which is going to be launched very soon. We are here to tell you one thing, that everyone who is a subscriber of this particular channel will get Azure Cloud and Azure AI related certification courses free of cost in skilltech.club. So you will be a part of the skilltech.club kind of a membership automatically free of cost. And everyone who's a subscriber of this particular channel will get those benefits which are available in that. So what are you waiting for? I request you to please subscribe to this channel and share it with your friends and families if they are also interested in Azure Cloud and AI learning. That's it from my side. Now you can carry on with your learning. Thank you. Now let's talk about analyzing your infrastructure using Azure Monitor logs. Infrastructure monitoring is one of the most important part with Azure Monitor service. You can see right now, when we focus on the log analytics use cases, a service that helps you to collect and analyze data which is generated by Azure resources in your cloud and on-premise environment is what we call log analytics. Basically, it's going to help you to collect the logs based on your configuration. These logs are going to be written in the query format and is going to be helping you to interactively analyze the results of these queries with that. These examples include assessing system updates and troubleshooting operational incidents whenever some kind of a failure or downtime is happening with the infrastructure systems. This screenshot is showing you how you can create a log analytics workspace. Most of the time, a log analytics workspace is going to be created when you configure service like Application Insight or some other Insight configurations with that. If you want to create a separate workspace, you can also do that thing based on the project-wise structure. A workspace is nothing but a specific Azure resource which is focusing on collecting the data which you have collected with the help of logs. It's going to store your logs, it's going to have aggregated, analyzed, and presentation associated with those logs. You can have multiple workspaces per Azure subscription, and you can have access to more than one workspace also. A workspace is basically going to provide a geographic location, data isolation, and a scope which can be associated with your one or more projects. This screenshot is showing you how you can query log analytics data. Some of the common queries which are available in log analytics data will be focusing on KQL language, which is known as Custo Query Language, which is helping you to do the custom searches on your logs. It's going to help you to quickly retrieve and consolidate data in your repository. You can save and have a log searches run automatically to create an alert. You can also export this data to Power BI or Excel for your further analysis. As you can see in this screenshot, you have different kind of ready-made queries which are available based on the type of the resource and based on what kind of an applications you want to associate with that. This screen is actually showing you how exactly the log analytics queries are actually structured. Depends upon the resource and configurations, log analytics are going to store different event logs, system logs, heartbeat of the particular health of that particular resource, or maybe some other configurations and alerts which are going to be stored. When you configure this thing, the KQL, which is a Custo Query Language, is allowing you to write a query with this kind of a syntax. As you can see in the bottom query, this is an event where we are applying multiple where clauses, and then where clauses are going to have conditions. After that, we are specifying the summarization of the error count, which is like we want to summarize multiple count of that particular log event with that. And then from that also, we want to see the top 10 count by the error count in the descending order. Now this is very similar to your SQL language, but this is a little different in the syntax, which is known as KQL. With all this information, obviously monitoring is going to be more meaningful when you're going to try that thing with the lab. So I recommend you to check the next video in which we are going to deal with lab number 11 of this module, which is implementing monitoring with Azure Monitor.